This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning everyone. Shalom Aleichem. Thank you everybody for coming. Today's breakfast is dedicated by Rabbi Glatstein in honor of the return of Yeshua from learning in Eretz Yisrael and Aryeh, and he should be matzliach in all of his learning and all of his endeavors. And you should have nachas from all your children. Ad Biaskel Tzedek. Thank you, Aryeh Leib, for picking up the breakfast. Want to share with you some halachos about Bedikas Chometz. Some of it is we didn't have a chance to mention yesterday, and some other important inyanim. We mentioned that Chometz is different than all other Yisurim, and that is Chometz is not even batal b'mashehu. That means if a crumb of Chometz falls into 1,000 times as much, it is not batal. This halacha, that Chometz is not batal b'mashehu, has the following halachic ramification, and that is the Isser of Hala'ah. The Isser of Hala'ah, which means as follows. Let's say you're in Great Adventures. Now that's your first mistake. You went to Great Adventures. Why you went there? You didn't learn your lesson from last year? I don't know. I can't answer that. Why you want to inflict yourself with, permanent brain damage, having your head shaken back and forth. But anyway, come. It's okay. You're sitting at a table, and there's a Gentile eating bacon at the table. So are you allowed to eat kosher food at the same table that a guy is eating treif? What's halacha? Are you allowed to eat kosher food on the same table that a guy is eating treif? Do you need to have a separate tablecloth? Do you need to have a separate placemat? The halacha is there's no isser at all. You could eat kosher food. The guy could be within your dalet amos. There's no isser to eat kosher food next to someone eating treif food. Are you worried that a little crumb of his food will fall into your food? No. Why? Because even if the crumb falls in, it's batal b'shishim. Are you worried that you might accidentally forget and say, "Hey Tony, could I have a piece of the cheeseburger?" We're not worried. Why? Because you never eat treif, so we're not worried you're going to forget. That's by treif. How about by basar b'chalav? What about by milk and meat? By milk and meat, there is a isser of hala'ah. Isser of hala'ah means that because both foods are kosher, and typically you eat that kind of food, just you're not allowed to eat it now because right now I'm fleishik, right now I'm milchik. So the halacha is you cannot eat meat and milk at the same table. In other words, if you're here eating a bagel and cream cheese and I want to eat a salami sandwich, I cannot eat it at the same table that you're eating it on. What do you need to do? You need to have a hecker. You need to either put something down on the table that's not ordinarily there. Or I eat it on a separate placemat, or you have a tablecloth, I don't have a tablecloth. There needs to be some recognizable reminder to remind me, because I usually eat a bagel and cream cheese. I personally don't, but many people do. It's kosher food. So we're afraid that while you're eating meat, you might forget and you might partake of their food, and therefore the halacha is that you need to have a hecker. How about chometz? Can I eat my matzah and cream cheese? What do people put on? I forgot. Matzah and jelly. Can I eat my matzah? Maishi, what do you like? Nothing. Maishi goes to hard-boiled eggs and chocolate, rosemary chocolate, right? So, and maybe a few lady fingers. So, am I allowed to eat my matzah on the same table that someone's eating chometz with a separate placemat or with a separate tablecloth? The answer is no. There is an isser of halah, and it's not going to help to have a hecker, to have a reminder. Because whether we're worried that I'm going to eat from your sandwich or not, that could be taken care of with a hecker. But what I'm worried about is that the wind may blow one crumb of your chametz into my food. So if it would be treif, it wouldn't even be batal. It would be batal b'shishim. Right? If it would be treif food, it would be batal and my shishim. But chametz is not even batal b'mashehu. It's not even batal be'elef. And therefore, you cannot eat at the same table that somebody is eating chametz on. What if the table is a mile long? So I'm on one side, and the guy is a mile down. Am I allowed to eat matzah on the same table someone's eating chametz a mile down? After all, if the whole shash is something's going to fly into my food, it's very unlikely from a mile away a crumb's going to fall into my food. The answer Chayadim says is loy plug. We don't make any distinction that no matter what, under all conditions, you cannot eat matzah, a Pesach dika meal, on the same table someone's eating chametz. The Nitei Gavriel argues, and I didn't see this anywhere else, but he makes the case that if you're on an airplane and you have the two trays, so technically they're two separate trays, but they're in very close proximity, you should not eat your Pesach dika meal while somebody next to you is eating chametz. If it would be on a regular day where somebody's eating treif, you could eat kosher food at the same time. Something may spill into your food. It's not a problem. It's batal b'shishim. But by chametz, there's more of a concern, and chametz is not even batal b'mashihu. So this is an important ramification of chametz is not even batal b'elef, and that is the isser of hala'ah. Let's talk a little bit about Bedikas chametz. Yesterday in the Shabbos Haggadah drasha, we brought the Shita of the Ramah. The Ramah says you should put out pieces of bread for Bedikas chametz. The Ramah says so it should not be a bracha levatala. Because otherwise you're going to search, but you're not going to find anything. Maybe it's a bracha levatala. The Ramah says really it's not going to be a bracha levatala, because the bracha is, I make a bracha, if I find I should burn. But if I don't find, then I won't burn. The Taz gave a different reason why it's not a bracha levatala. Because the bracha is not on searching, it's on burning. And tomorrow in the morning, whether you find or you don't find, you're going to have chametz to burn. The question is, do you put out the pieces of chametz if you're doing a bedika, let's say on the 13th or the 12th? That we discussed in the Shabbos Haggadah drasha. We said that according to the Ramah, that the whole reason to make a bracha, the whole reason to put out the pieces of food is so that it shouldn't be a bracha levatala. Since on the 13th or the 12th or the 11th you're not making a bracha, so there's no concern of bracha levatala, there would be no reason to put out the bread. So I just want to, I didn't mention this yesterday, perhaps another reason why you would put out bread even on the 13th, the 12th, or 11th. Again, the conclusion is you don't, but this is an important svara to be aware of. The Chayk Yaakov. Chayk Yaakov is an important parish in Shulchan Aruch on Hilchos Pesach. He also wrote on Yoredea Tairas Hashlamim. He also wrote on the Ein Yaakov, he wrote Ion Yaakov, and he also wrote Shal Sechuvah Shvus Yaakov. And he says the following svara. What's the reason we put out pieces of bread? He says, human nature is, I don't think I mentioned this yesterday, human nature is that if you have a job and you're not really being successful at the job, you just throw in the towel and you just, you don't do the job well. So most people clean their houses very well for Pesach. When you're doing Bedikas chametz, what's the likelihood you're going to find something? I mean, did you ever really find something? It's probably hit or miss, Probably most people, the only thing they really find are the 10 pieces. Sometimes, yeah. One time I found the Cheerio in the radiator, right? But if you don't put out the 10 pieces, after 5 minutes, you're not finding anything. Your house is, sparkling clean. You said, forget the whole thing. It's a charade. It's a joke. I'm not looking for anything. And you just you just go through the motions of the rest of the bedika because your search is not yielding any results. So what we do is, we tell you, put out the 10 pieces. So now while you're searching, oh, look, I found something. And basically, you're giving yourself a false sense of success in your search, but that's going to prod you on to really search. Then you're going to search your radiator and you're going to find the chametz that had you not put out the 10 pieces, you wouldn't have found. Which is, in general, it's a good lesson in chinuch, that sometimes it's worthwhile to give people a false sense of success, because success breeds success. Okay, whoever, on a test, if you're a teacher, give a bunch of questions that they're going to get the right answer, so that the hard questions, they're going to exert themselves to try to get the right answer. Anyway, according to that svara, that the reason to put out the 10 pieces of bread is to ensure a thorough search, then it would come out that one should put out the 10 pieces, whether it's the 14th, the 13th, the 12th, the 11th, it really doesn't matter. But again, we mentioned from Shmuel Kamenetsky, the Ikar Svara is the Svara of the Ramah, that the reason we put out the 10 pieces is so that it shouldn't be a bracha levatala. So since you're not making a bracha on any other night but the 14th, you would not put out the 10 pieces. Okay, using a flashlight. Could you use a flashlight for Bedikas Chometz?
Yes.
So, regarding using a bulb for, let's say, Shabbos candles, that's a shaila in the Poskim, whether you could use an electric bulb for ner. But when it comes to Bedikas Chometz, it's pretty unanimous that you're allowed to use a flashlight. Rav Aaron Kotler says, Loi gara minar. It's no worse than an air. Rav Moshe Feinstein says, it's better than a candle. So you say, great, I'll use my cell phone. No, how could you use your cell phone? You turned it off for Bedikas Chometz. Do not use your cell phone for Bedikas Chometz. You want your kid's memory of Bedikas Chometz to be their father, scrolling down different news outlets while they're doing Bedikas Chometz. Then the kid, he's going to think the minhag is that the night before Pesach you walk around with your phone while looking at the news. Put the stupid phone away for Bedikas Chometz. Go get yourself a flashlight for $5. Don't use the flashlight on the phone. No, I put it on airplane mode. There is no way you're going to get through the whole Bedika without checking your phone. You can't do it, okay? You're not going to be able to do it. Anyway, but the Poskim say as follows, Yisrael Kadoshim Heim. And we like to do things the way they were always done. And even though using a candle is dangerous to get near the carpet, to get near the drapes, at least start it with a candle. And then after a minute, you segue into a flashlight. But a flashlight, you are allowed to use a flashlight for Bedikas Chometz. Now what's the reason why we do Bedikas Chometz at nighttime? Why don't we do it during the day? So that's the Gemara's question on Daf Dalet and Psachim. The Mishnah says, "Arli yadad boikin es chametz araner." So the Gemara wants to know, "V'nivdoik mitzafra." Do the bedika in the morning. Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Number one, people are not home during the day, and number two, that or haner yafel lebedika. The light of the candle is good for bedika, because you need to get into the cracks and the crevices, right? You need to get into the cracks and the crevices. So therefore, you want to use the candlelight. So the candlelight works better in the nighttime than it works during the day. So then you would think, if the whole reason to do Bedika at night is to be able to use a candle, should you turn off the lights for Bedikas Chometz? Because the whole reason we do it at night is because a candle works better at night. Why does a candle work better at night? Because it works better without daylight. So Rav Moshe Sternbach writes, you should turn off the lights for Bedikas Chometz. However, none of the poskim agree with that. Rav Shlomo Zalman said, do not turn off the light. It's better with the light on. It's only the daylight that interferes with the candlelight. Electricity does not interfere with candlelight. Number two, the Stipler said, do not turn off the light. Rav Moshe said, do not turn off the light. And the halacha is, you do not turn off the lights for Bedikas Chometz. Now, let's talk about the pieces of bread. Okay, let's talk about the pieces of bread. The first thing is, you're cleaning your house from Chometz. The last thing you want to do is take 10 pieces of sourdough challah. You know sourdough? The thing, it's just like a million crumbs together. You touch it, it crumbles over the whole house within seconds. It diffuses through the whole house. The last thing you want to do is ruin your house by putting out the 10 pieces of bread. So therefore, you want to wrap them up. You also want to unwrap them when you burn them, because if they're wrapped in silver foil while you're burning them, they could sit in there for 30 hours, nothing's going to happen to you. You were never Mekayim the mitzvah of Tashvisu. So you want to wrap them for the Bedika, you want to unwrap them for the burning. How big should they be? This is very important. Each piece should be less than a kazayas. Why? Because if you lose one, you're not going to violate the mitzvah, the Isser Dairaisa of Hal Yirah B'al Yimatzeh. So this way it's less than a kazayas. However, in total, they should be more than a kazayas, so that when you burn it, you're mekayim the mitzvah of tashbisu. So you want to make sure. Now I can't tell you what the certified, pre-owned 10 pieces kit that you buy in the store are following these halachas. But again, each piece should be less than a kazayas. This way, if you lose one, you're not over B'al Yirah B'al Yimatzeh. And together, all 10 pieces should be a kazayas.
If you have more chametz the next day to burn, you'll have a kazayas.
If what?
If you have more chametz to burn, you'll have a
Yeah, true. Again, obviously, if the Bedikas Chometz, all you're doing is, I'm collecting where I put the 10 pieces, then it is a bracha levatala. The purpose is not to collect the 10 pieces. The purpose is to make sure you don't have chametz in your house. Now, does that mean I have to take out every sock from every drawer and go into every single crack and crevice in my house? That would take about 5, 6, 7 hours. Anyone doing that? So, it's not enough just to look for the 10 pieces. Obviously, to take out every single item, you're going to go through every sock. Rafael, you're going to take every sack, turn it inside out, make sure there are no crumbs in the socks. That's going to take a very long time. So this is what you do. Before Pesach, you clean your house. You clean your whole house. During Bedikas Chometz, you ascertain. Okay, you tell you, right, was this cleaned? Was this drawer taken care of? Was this area taken care of? So in other words, you're not just looking for the 10 pieces. You are searching the whole house, but in the days before Pesach, everything was cleaned. So you're going around ascertaining that every area was taken care of. If it wasn't, now's the time to do it. If it was, okay, we're good at this area. We're good in this area. Okay, that's the purpose of Bedikas Chometz. Now let's talk about Erev Pesach for a moment.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is there any opinion for a person to do this Bedikas Chometz, let's say in their house and their car, in their house and their garage?
Absolutely. Bedikas Chometz has to be done on your car. Now it doesn't mean you have to take the candle into the car. You could also ascertain, okay, did we take care of the car today? Was the car vacuumed? Yankee, did you make sure to do under the car seat? Did you make sure to check the glove compartment? Okay, so if that's but part of Bedikas is to make sure all of your domains are accounted for.
You don't do that. You don't do it at night, putting a piece over there.
No, one of the pieces you don't have to put there, but during the Bedika you need to ascertain that was or will be done. Okay, I want to talk about Chometz of a guy. If let's say you have to have a repair on Yom Tov, something that you're allowed to do. A guy comes into your house during the year. He brings in a ham sandwich. Do you have to say, "Excuse me, Mr. Guy, take it out of the house"? You can't eat treif in my house. No, there's no isser for a guy to eat treif in your house. What if the guy comes in with chametz in your house? Not a problem. Why? La yera lecha chametz. You can't see. Aval yera la'akum. By an akum, it's not a problem. It's the Gemara Darshans in Pesachim Daf Hey. Shalcha iataraya, aval ataraya shal achirim. We're afraid you're going to come to eat it. Like we said, we're not afraid. You're not going to take Tony's ham sandwich. He's going to take out a gun. You're going to take it. You're going to say, "Give me." You're going to take a sandwich. No, you're not going to take a sandwich. We're not worried. Now, the Bir Hagra has a very interesting shaila. The Gemara says, "Shalcha iataraya, aval ataraya shal achirim." You're allowed to see others. Why didn't the Gemara says you're allowed to see something that's not yours? Says the Gemara, only of a goy you're allowed to see, but of an irreligious Jew you're not allowed to see. So if another Jew comes into your house with chametz, it's your problem. Now obviously, a Jew's not going to come into your house with chametz. But whatever, if the worker is not religious, but he's Jewish, it is your problem if he has chametz in your house. You will be over bal yera, bal yimatzeh, if another Jew brings chametz into your house. So you're not kind of it. You're not kind of it. Let's talk about Erev Pesach. Erev Pesach, you're not allowed to do malacha after chatzos. We spoke about this many times, whether it's, there are different reasons for it. Some Rishonim say because we want you to prepare for the Seder and for Yom Tov, so we make an Isser Malacha, it's like Chol HaMoed. Some say it's because it was the time of the Shechita of the Karban Pesach. The Pnei Yeshua says it's the Eiraisa, that Erev Pesach after Chatzos is what? It's Pesach. That 6-hour interval is Pesach. From the night and on is Chag HaMatzos. Be it as it may, it's very important to remember, if you're going to take a haircut, to do so before Chatzos Erev Pesach. You want to shave, make sure you do so before Chatzos Erev Pesach. If you forgot to, don't worry, Lag BaOmer is just around the corner. Okay? So, it will come in no time. So, what?
Rosh Chodesh is on Friday.
Rosh Chodesh is Friday? So then you could take a haircut Friday? Rosh Chodesh is Friday Shabbos. If it's Shabbos, if Rosh Chodesh is Shabbos, so L'Kavod Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh maybe.
Right.
Okay, interesting. Oh, that's good to know. So then it's Kedai to keep, as you know, it's Kedai to keep the second Sfira. Why? Most people keep the first Sfira. But you're allowed to switch every year. You don't have to keep the same Sfira every year. So in such a case, it's Kedai to keep the second Sfira. It's much easier. No, it's Kedai to keep the first Sfira this year. Right, it's Kedai to keep the first Sfira because this way you have a break in between. Okay, so Erev Pesach, remember to do malacha. Now, there's this misnomer going around that when a woman hears Kiddush from her husband the night of Pesach, she should not answer Amen to the husband's Shechianu. Why? Because she already made a Shechianu Hadlakas Neiros. So she doesn't need the husband's Shechianu. So for her to answer Amen, it would be a hefsek. So some say she should not answer Amen. I believe Rav Sternbach writes that in his Haggadah. Rav Moshe says that it's not correct. That any time the Mavarech needs to make a bracha, it's not a hefsek on the part of the one answering. Okay, let's talk about products. Do you have to get yourself this list and check every single product? I have a Windex. Let me check that there's no pizza in the Windex. Did they put falafel in the Windex? So the basic rule is like this: that you're welcome to get the list and check all your products, but the basic rule is that products don't have to be checked. Most people don't eat Windex. Most people don't eat, they don't eat soap. Unless you eat bars of soap, then you have to check it. Here are the things you need to check. All the products are your shampoos and your creams. They're all good. But here are the things you need to make sure. If they have alcohol, then you're gonna check it. You want to make sure there's no alcohol in it, because denatured alcohol could be chametz. Even though people are not eating the product, there are people who could extract alcohol from products, and then you could drink it. I'm not saying there are people who do that. So products that have denatured alcohol, what has denatured alcohol? Maybe perfume, a cologne, once in a while a shampoo, deodorant. But so products are good unless they have certain kinds of alcohol in it. Or the other things you have to be careful about are things you put in your mouth. If you're putting it in your mouth, you want to make sure it's kosher Pesach. So toothpaste, mouthwash. Same thing goes for women's makeup. Women's makeup is fine; it's all good, except for lipsticks. You should make sure is Pesachdik, because that's that might touch the food. Everything else, you're welcome to spend the next 4 days going through all your products. But this is the simple way to do it. The simple way is products are good, except if they have certain kinds of alcohol, or you're putting it in your mouth. Medicines that you swallow, they're good. Medicine that you swallow is fine. That's not eating. Okay? However, that's medicine that's prescribed. Vitamins, nobody has any idea if they do anything or not. We know they go in on one end. We know whether anything happens in the interim, nobody has any idea. So those need to be kosher lePesach, because they're not medically mandated. Somebody's low on iron, and the doctor says they have to take iron, so then you're allowed to take it, and it doesn't have to be kosher lePesach. But if you're just taking, life extension pills or other other vitamins that who knows what they do, so you take them. Why not? Take them during the rest of the year. Pesach, you can take them if they're kosher Pesach. If you don't know if they're kosher Pesach, nothing bad will happen if you miss it for 7 days. Probably, maybe something good will happen if you miss it. But anyway, so that's the thing with medicine, with vitamins, and Be'ezus Hashem, everyone should have a Chag Kosher v'Sameach, and we'll see everybody Mincha today. Yeah, Mincha. Mincha b'zmanai today. Shkoyach. Reb Chanani ben Akasham, Ratzah HaKadosh Baruch Hu Zak V'Sol Tika Chibram Torah Mitzvah Shenemar.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.